Hi, my name is Justin, and I work at Sustainable Marketing. As we just started our marketing agency, I'm based in Kelowna. I have my first ever guest, Alif from Toronto,
What
and
up?
and funny story, I actually met him on YouTube. So he is such an inspiration. But I am starting my business journey, and he's already been in business for so long from digital marketing, and I am so excited to kind of ask him some spicy question for this podcast. Alif, how do you feel being here?
I feel good. You said spicy questions, so now I'm like, oh shoot, it's gonna get heated here, aren't we?
It's gonna get crazy here because we are gonna get into a lot of like uncomfortable questions, but also like his journey as a business person, and now he's making X amount, but he's a full-time freelancer, right?
Yeah, I'm making enough where I sustain myself full time, paying rent here in the Toronto market and everything. So I'm there. I would say I'm a little less than 10K a month, but I'm higher than 5K. Like I hover around that range right now. That's kind of where the state of my business is at right now.
Okay.
Obviously, the future on it grows more. It might go down. Who knows? But full transparency, that's kind of where I'm at.
But you know what? I think it's such an incredible position that you are able to sustain yourself in such a big city like Toronto or Vaughan. I feel like since I just started my business, it's very like scary territory, and
Mhm.
it's a little bit intimidating as well. But for people who are watching me for the first time or people who are following me for a while, let me give you a little bit of synopsis how I met this incredible person and how we came to become acquaintances and friends on LinkedIn. And so, long story short, I was heavily depressed with my career and I wanted to go into marketing because I started like marketing on YouTube in 2014. And if you were alive then, you would remember that there was Lily Singh, there was Smosh, there was Shane Dawson, and I started YouTubing then. And I moved here from Delhi, and then I kind of lost touch with that side of my life, and I started going on YouTube and like looking at prospects about marketing, and that's where I met this person, and he made such inspirational videos and like kind of tracking his progress and talking more about his experience going into marketing. I remember, Alif, you made a video about connecting with somebody and getting a internship from there. how
Yes, yeah.
how did that come to place? Like, that was so interesting to watch.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, I was working at a recruiting company and I realized, oh my gosh, I do not want to work in recruiting. I actually want to work in marketing because while I was working in recruiting, I want to get into business. So I was like, what kind of business can I start? And because I knew recruiting, I was like, okay, let me help people find jobs. Great. Career coach is what I call it on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And so I would help people find jobs. And I realized through this business, I like the marketing side of the business more than like anything else. And then eventually I was at my recruiting job and doing the business thing on side, and I realized, yo, I should just work in marketing. And so one day, and it was funny, I was like, screw it. I was looking out the window into a lake, and it was one of those moments I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna do it. And I went on Google, I looked up like a resignation letter template, and then I hit print. But my problem was the printer was on the other side of the office. And so I was like, oh shoot, so everyone's gonna see a resignation letter being printed right now on that printer.
Oh
And I
my.
had to get to it really fast. So you best bet I ran to that printer, hid the letter on my jacket, came back to my desk, and then like, signed it off and everything. And I called my manager, I'm quit, I quit. And then like I just left. It was funny, everyone's like, why are you leaving? Stay, stay, stay. But essentially from then I realized, oh shoot, I have no marketing experience, like technical experience in a job. I have never studied marketing, but I need to work in marketing. But one thing I realized was like, even though I have all these problems of getting into marketing, if I can just physically show someone that I can do marketing and, show them I'm a likable person, I think that's enough to just get like an entry level role. And so I was trying to figure out how do I do that without going through a cover letter and resume? Because if I go that route, I'm going to fail, obviously, because I have no experience.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I did my research on marketing agencies in Toronto, and I'm like, oh, this is a cool company. And I looked through everyone who worked there. There's one guy that stood out because I think he just had a Bengali name, and I'm Bengali, so I'm like, okay, maybe there's something there. And then so I was like, oh, it's interesting. He had podcasts. Like I listened to the podcast, I skimmed his book and everything, and I realized this is the guy I need to do this thing with. Now, how do I do it? So what I did was I just cold DM'd him. Hey, can I just ask you some questions about marketing? I'm looking to get into marketing. Great. Got on a call with him. He liked my personality. Great. Check. got off the call. Now I need to show him that I actually do marketing. So I was thinking about what can I do? So then I went on their website and I realized the copywriting on one of their pages was kind of off. I was like, okay, maybe there's something here. And so I recorded a screen recording of me and I turned on my webcam and I was like, okay, I'm going to rewrite your entire web page. And I wrote the entire thing, rewrote it completely, and I sent it to them from scratch. I was like, you can just literally use this for free. Just take it. And I think this helped because he saw my thinking process. He saw that I can do the work.
Wow.
And then he liked it so much I got an interview. It's funny, fast forward to now, he's like, hey, you remember when you sent me that video? I was like, yeah, what's up? What was years back, man? What's up? He's like, I hated you. I was like, what? What are you talking about, man? He's like, yeah, you're a random guy on the internet. You're telling me how to do my job as a marketer. But you know what, man? Halfway through the video, I started realizing you're a pretty funny guy and you had a point in everything you said. So naturally, I wanted to hire you. I was like, cool, sounds good, man. And so that's how I initially got my first step into the world of marketing.
Wow. I feel like somebody who actually watched your videos and who was wanting to get into marketing, like kind of foot in the door, your video was very inspirational. And you know what's funny? I actually followed those steps step by step. I was connecting with people on LinkedIn. I sent them a similar message and I got a lot of like traction through those. So people who are wanting to get into marketing or digital marketing, the competition and labor market is so tight right now. So I feel like what Alif did was so smart and like stand you out from the crowd. And people would, in fact, like hiring managers would actually look at it because obviously a lot of people want to see like what you do. And when you get an interview, even they will ask you, okay, can you share a portfolio? So you can skip that step. Well, more or less, not really, but if you show them that you can do something like how Alif did, then obviously you can skip that step. That's what I did too. Like for my first gig as a full-time marketer, I kind of showed them what I am capable of. So like Facebook ads and like Google ads. And most of my learning was my own experience. So I went and like did some certifications and whatnot and like connected with LinkedIn people. So I would just like search up the title job digital marketing manager and like I would see like how is their profile, and that was one of the things that really
Nice. And I think that's a good part of marketing. Like you don't need like, imagine you're like in IT infrastructure. How are you going to do this technique when you're in IT infrastructure? Like, are you going to make a whole cybernetic computer system for a company for free so that they can get a job? Like that's the beauty of marketing. You can do the marketing without working in the company, right? So you can build the skills without actually getting the job. And that's what's like awesome. That's what makes marketing so accessible for everyone.
right. Yeah, and it's definitely exciting. It's a very innovative industry where it's constantly evolving. Like there's something new.
Yeah.
If you're a social media manager, there's something new on the go with TikTok. There's on the go something with Instagram, TikTok. The algorithm changes every month. It's just so annoying, but it also like keeps you on your toe. Like what is gonna happen next?
Yeah, I agree. It changes like every month, every day. Now with AI, I'm like constantly looking at like these videos where they share like AI, new updates in AI, and it's supposed to video every day. And I'm just watching every one of them and trying to figure out what tools can I use, what's everyone doing here. The other day I was like talking to this guy. He sold a bunch of businesses, made a lot of money, and now he's doing a startup. I'm like, what kind of startup? He's like, an AI tool for email. And it's funny because he's the third person I talked to about this topic, and I was like, damn, I just literally went through 2 email AI products and now you're creating another one. That's wild. So you're right. It's constantly changing, man.
Instagram, the Sustainable Marketing page that I created, I was just creating some chat GPT posts that business owners can use in their own business to make everything more efficient. And there were so many comments where people are using it for so many various like ways to save time and like to get the best results. And I feel like it's funny that we are talking about chat GPT because me being a marketer, I am so like it's crazy because okay, in back of my mind, I feel like maybe AI would take over the world. And I don't want to be somebody who is killed by a robot. So whenever I'm like chatting with ChatGPT or Alexa or Google, I'm like so extra like respectful. It's just so crazy. If
You have to say please and thank you.
yeah. So like on ChatGPT, I'm like, hey ChatGPT, can you please do this for me? Oh, thank you so much, respectfully. And like I'm not even kidding, I do that. And it just like it's I feel like it's subconscious now I do it. So I would just so my dog is anxious all the time. And
Right.
she likes to listen to Google songs. And whenever I ask Google to play anything, I'm like, hi, Miss Google, can you play song?
That's
Thank
so funny, man. Oh my
you.
god.
I thought I wouldn't go far either, but here I am.
So if AI does take over everyone, you're the last to survive. Like they'll spare you basically because of your kind manners. I'm
Uh,
probably gonna die first thing because I'm like abusive towards it at this point.
you know what? I hope so, but I don't think if it starts killing people, I want to go in the first wave because I'm not trying to be a survivor. I watched enough zombie movies. I've watched like enough apocalypse movies that there is no point in surviving. Like by myself, I would get so bored. And
But
then
like, wouldn't you be curious? Like, wouldn't you be curious to just live for a few years at least, see where it's going, and like, okay, I'm satisfied. All right, take a pill, die. You know what I mean?
I
As long as your curiosity.
I think that would be a great way to go. But so I was just watching, I love K-dramas. So I was watching all of a
Yeah.
sudden on Netflix and like these students in high school, there's a zombie apocalypse happening all around them. Like people are killing each other and like biting each other.
Right.
It's like ugly scene. And these kids want to survive. And it's crazy because they haven't eaten anything. They are like they're peeing and pooping everywhere. It's just like not fun. So I feel like I
Right.
would want to go in the first wave where I don't even have to experience any kind of like pain and I don't enjoy my own company. It's not fun.
That's so funny. I mean, like, I feel like there's also like nuclear war happening, and maybe that'll cause some sort of problems as well. Who knows? World War III. What? There's so many different things in the world right now. I feel like that's just one. Which AI is just one of like the 20 plethora of things that can
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. I feel like being in Canada, both of us on like you are on the East Coast, I'm on the
Yeah.
West Coast. The inflation is just so bad right now. When I moved here in 2018, I would go and buy milk. I'm lactose intolerant, but I don't give a shit. So I would like
Yeah.
actually go buy milk and it was $4 or something. Now it's like $6, almost $7 now.
That's
So
wild. Yeah, that's I go on Instacart and see my receipt. I'm like, wait, that's pretty high. What's going on? Like, rent went up. My last apartment was 1350, and now I'm 2 grand. I'm like, whoa, everything's just going up. And then the crazy thing is, income is not even going up. Like the average income per person, so it's
yeah.
staying the same. Interest rates are going up. Rent prices are going up. Grocery going up. So eventually, it's just gonna explode on itself,
I
right?
feel like everything's going up, but my mental health's going down with that. I don't so I know that you're in marketing and you're doing great. You are an inspiration. I say that all the time. But what inspired you to pursue your career in digital marketing and what particular aspects of the field you find most exciting? For people who are watching a video, I'm definitely reading these questions out from somewhere. I I am not a robot. I cannot learn it, but people who are listening to this on Spotify
Yeah.
ignore that I'm reading it from somewhere. Like just ignore part of the information.
I don't think I forgot you're reading it actually. So the fact you brought it up, I'm like, oh yeah, there's a Google Doc on my right side that I'm looking at right now. uh, what inspired me? What inspired me was when I was working in the recruiter role, I was doing interview screens, I was interviewing people and just doing that whole stuff. And what I realized about the recruiting job was like it was very standardized. Like take the interview on this Zoom link, and when you're there, add meaning notes to this document, and you write it everything out, and then submit it to this portal. And if they pass, submit it to this, and repeat and repeat. And it was just assistized and everything. And I was like, I felt like I was operating under like some sort of borderline wall of rule of regulations and everything. And there wasn't enough like creativity. I literally felt like literally if you put someone in my chair they can replace me, like anyone can replace me, like that person in high school right now, if they're like driven enough they can just like take my job and just do it for me. Like there's nothing unique about me. I'm not getting rewarded on my thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So I knew I wanted to get out of that space in some way, shape, or form. And then through the side business, I loved like conversion rate optimization. There was something about, oh, if I use this word and I phrase it this way on this page, someone will read that and be enticed to click a button. And I got obsessed with copyright. I literally dropped like $3,000, $5,000 worth of courses on copywriting just to learn how to psychologically kind of word things out so then people would like click a button.
And so yeah, so I was buying all these copywriting courses because I was obsessed with like how do I phrase this word so someone takes an action. I felt like a master of manipulation. Like I felt like those secret scientists in my laboratory up in the hill in the distance who's just like scheming on how to take over the world through like the world. Like it was weird. Okay, I can't lie. That's kind of where my mind went. I'm like, oh my god, you're saying if I write this in an email, it'll make someone click this button. That came so addicted to me. So naturally through that, I learned a lot about email, I learned a lot about social media captions. I learned a lot about landing page optimizations and funnels and everything. And so that hooked me instantly to digital marketing. I knew this is where I wanted to be. So that's what essentially got me into digital marketing. From there, I learned like, emails and technical stuff and all that. But it all came down to psychology. It's funny because I studied psychology in school, yet I learned the most about psychology in marketing.
No way. I actually studied psychology too. So that's so
Did
crazy.
you?
Yeah. So I studied psychology back in Delhi. And obviously I couldn't transfer my credits, long story short. And then I did my psychology here in Vancouver. And after that, I was like, all right, cool. This is not for me because I was working in nonprofit and it was great. But I was just not really happy. And then I went into business school. So now I'm in my fourth year of business school. It's crazy.
Oh, so you're doing schooling right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you're okay. How many hours a week is that? Like,
Well, I am taking 4 courses, which is full time, but
yeah,
all of them are kind of asynchronous or
right.
online. But I'm also like 5 minutes away from my college, so I can go in, do whatever, and come back.
Yes.
And since I'm working freelance, it works out with my schedule.
Perfect. 5 minute walk away. That's just nothing. I remember I had to take like 2 buses. It was the worst, but
Oh my
that's
God,
perfect.
I don't miss that. In Vancouver, I never had a car, so I was always transiting. But it
Mm.
also gave me opportunities to like meeting new people, and then COVID happened, and I was like, all right, well, I'm not traveling by bus or transit, and then I bought a car.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. Car, you really have to, because I remember going to Vancouver and stuff. I felt like within 3 hours, I was able to walk through the entire city, got that done with.
Yeah,
But if you're living in the suburbs, you have to. I feel like have to have.
but I
You know.
guess you lived in downtown Toronto, right? Before?
No, I lived in. Well, my last apartment was in Etobicoke. It's close to downtown, but not exactly downtown. Uh, and this apartment is in Vaughan, so it's pretty far from downtown, but it's right next to the subway. So I just go straight down the subway all the way downtown. It's convenient. But at my parents' house when I was living there is in Brampton, and that's like in the middle of nowhere. That's when you need the car.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. As a freelancer, obviously, like you are meeting new people, you're meeting new
Yep.
clients, and obviously, every single client comes with a very unique perspective on like what they're wanting, what their goals are.
Yeah.
So how do you ensure that you get their picture and like get their expectations, and like how do you communicate that with the clients?
Yeah, I'll tell you a few things on this. So my ideal client changed about like 3 times. At first, when I started, I was working as a career coach, and I would teach job seekers how to get jobs. And if you ever worked with a job seeker before, then you know they're kind of full of anxiety. Money is tight, so a lot of times when I get in calls with them, like I can't afford this. Can you do cheaper? Can you do cheaper? Or they just not in a good mood, right? And I realized this is not my niche. Like this is not. I can't. This is exhausting. Then I switched to marketing and I started helping other career coaches with their marketing. And that got a little better because now they're a business. So I'm doing kind of business to business, and
Yeah,
money wasn't as taboo of a topic to talk about.
yeah.
Because in a previous sales call, I'd be like, okay, so this is like about like $500. How does it sound? Let me think about it. But here it's like, when I bring up the topic of money, they're kind of like, hey, I don't want to lowball you. I had one client, literally, I was like, hey, is there a budget for this project you have in mind? And they're like, you tell me whatever the number you have, and I'll go with that because I know what it feels like to be lowball all the time, and I'm not doing that to you. And I was like, damn, like this is what happens when you go to business to business.
That
Uh,
that's one.
Exactly. So there's that, but still, money was still an issue because oftentimes these coaches would often do it as a side hustle, so they had to spend their own money.
Yeah.
And then I switched it again to helping marketing directors at startups, and this is when I knew I hit the spot because a few things. I didn't have to constantly explain what I'm doing because they already knew inherently how marketing kind of worked. I just kind of have to tweak a little things. So I wasn't like, the reason why we're writing this email because of this, and we're using this headline because of, they kind of knew. So I was like, thank God. On top of that, money wasn't an issue. I remember talking to this one guy at this crypto startup, and I'm like, yeah. So like this project will probably start at 1,500 and everything. How does that sound to you? And he's like, yeah, whatever. Just send it to the finance guys. They just care about the work. Like, can you do this work? Let's do it. Like, can we start now? Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is it. Perfect. So now that's my niche that I'm generally targeting, marketing managers at startups. And so as my niche evolved, I started realizing the needs evolved and conversations started evolving.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, how to get on the same page, everything starts essentially with a good sales call. When someone jumps on a call with me, I'm not pitching right away. In fact, I'm trying to push them away. And it has this weird psychological thing where the more you push, the more they want you. And the way I push is by asking them a lot of good questions that make me seem like an expert because I'm using a consultative approach. I'll be like, why is this important? Like, why are you doing this email campaign? You already have a freelancer working for you. Why don't you just get them to do the job? And they're like, no, I need this because of this, this is this. And I'm like, well, you know, you can go somewhere on Upwork to do this much cheaper than me, which is probably more expensive. You know that, right? So why are you going with me? And they're like, well, I feel like you have the credibility, industry experience, and you're in North America time. And they're kind of selling themselves to me, right? And
Yeah.
it's these guided questions and deep thinking that I'm finally able to communicate like, okay, I have a really good understanding of your pain points and psychology and exactly what you need. And when I do that, they feel very heard and kind of like they understand. I understand them, and that gives them psychological trust that this person actually gets me, and they're not just trying to sell me something. And then I want to go with them more.
Oh, wow.
That's how I go about it.
So smart. Oh my God. So everyone who's listening to this and wanting to make a living out of freelance, this is such a good idea.
Yeah.
I would have never thought about that, like doing it this way. Like, where do you get your clients from?
Oh, that's a good question. So right now I get I've gotten clients from a lot of places like YouTube, LinkedIn, and all that. But now specifically, I get a lot of my clients on LinkedIn. So through the content I post, through DMs, I go on a lot of just networking calls. And if you want to break down the whole sales process, but on a high level, I go on a lot of networking calls on a consistent basis. I keep touch with people and just build word of mouth, and they'll kind of reach back out to me. But one overlooked place that I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on is actually Slack. There are Slack groups dedicated for marketers. Like if you're an I'm part of an email marketing Slack group. All the email marketers in North America are there, and they have a channel for freelancers and jobs and everything. And that is a gold mine of like opportunities right there alone. I feel a lot of people don't know this, and maybe I shouldn't be sharing this out because now I can hog it for myself. But that is also really good. To give you context, I have this one client I'm hoping to close Wednesday. It's a solid client and everything, and I found them through Slack, out of all places.
So everyone who's listening to it or watching it, if you're not taking notes, then what the fuck are you doing right now? What the heck? And if you are taking notes, then write down slack.com. And I just went on there, and it looks like a great app. You can go and download it, or I think that there is a web browser as well that you guys can go and use. And one thing that I wanted to ask you, like you are working now a full-time freelancer, so you might have a lot of clients that you're working simultaneously for. How do you organize and how do you project manage? What kind of apps do you use to kind of facilitate the entire process?
Yeah, for sure. So I realized time blocking is everything, and on top of that, theming my days is everything. So what I found was like the problem is freelancers, what they'll have is they'll get a client, they'll work with them, and then once the client project is done, they have no more projects, and then they're like kind of scrambling to get the next client. And this is actually one of my recent LinkedIn posts, but I've realized like you have to think of yourself as a business. As a business, there's like the finance department, there's like the marketing, the sales department, and then there's the account manager, the service person, right? And if all you're doing is just the service, you're neglecting everything else. So what I do is I have a dedicated day purely for cold outreach and marketing, right? So I have a day for that, no client work, nothing else, just purely for that. I'll have 2 to 3 days for just service. So my clients, like I'll do the client work those 2 to 3 days, and that's what my clients pay me for. And then I'll have an extra day for any admin stuff, so finance and HR documents, incorporated, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'll just keep doing that on a weekly basis. And what that does is, as the week goes, I'm still doing the outreach. I'm still getting my pipeline filled with opportunities, but I'm still getting client work done. So I'm not kind of starving out of nowhere. Like client projects don't know I'm freaking out, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, theming my days and obviously time blocking. Like, okay, from 9 to 5 is actually when I'll work, and after that, I'm gonna go hang out with friends. That's honestly, my calendar speaks for itself, basically.
That is so cool. So is there an application that you kind of use? Like, is it a Apple Calendar or Google Calendar? What works for you?
Yeah, my Google Calendar for everything, for my client invites, calls,
Yeah.
my telling me what to do. It's all Google Calendar. In terms of keeping everything central, Notion is my favorite place to go. So all my project
I
management.
downloaded Notion.
Yeah.
And I was watching a lot of like people who have marketing agencies, and you as a freelancer, you also have a marketing agency. And what's your plan with your agency? Are you wanting to like kind of develop and expand, hire more people, and like making it into a office? What's your goal for next year?
Yeah, short term I can tell you what it is. Long term, I feel like I'm always changing it, and it's always evolving. Who knows what I'll be. But I was thinking of like, I was reading a book called Founder Sales or something, basically for first time founders when they become salesperson, what to do. I was talking about how do founders work and how they have to manage people, the apps, developers, and everything. I'm like, this is not a lifestyle for me. I don't know. I can't do that, right?
Yeah.
There's something about this 1 to 2 man business stuff where you work from a laptop, be anywhere you want, have some flexibility, make content on YouTube and get a lot of traction. Like that kind of flow really speaks to me more, that lifestyle. And so my lifestyle right now is optimized for that, not trying to be like a unicorn CEO tech startup guy who's just working around the clock to exit his company. That's not my goal. I think that's more my brother's goal than me. So future wise, something along that lines for the next couple of years. I think right now I'm going to double down more on my niche is email marketing, specifically HubSpot. And so I'm going to actually my goal is to become even better at the service I provide and my expertise on that. So I'm gonna learn coding around email and designing around email more. I just be the go-to expert when it comes to email.
That is so exciting. So I guess like the last question that I think would be so helpful. So if people are still watching and if you're still listening, there is a very much a golden question that is going to help you out. Freelancer, how do you structure your payment structure? Like, do you on Fiverr, I see that people have a basic, medium, and like premium packages. Like, do you do it that way, or do you do by hours, or do you do by deliverables/services? How do you structure it for your client?
Yeah. So this, I think, I'm constantly evolving, so I can't tell you this is the definite answer right now because it does change for me. So what I do right now is more of a consultative. Okay, this really depends on the business reaching out to me. If they're a startup marketer who needs certain amount of hours to help with email marketing, right? Then I give them a monthly package rate. So every month you'll pay me 1,500, 2,500, whatever, and you'll have me for 10 hours, and a week, and I'll do X amount of work for you, right? That's how I have a few clients like that right now, and that's kind of what I prefer. If like a coach or a one-off project kind of reaches out to me, I'll do the sales call, understand exactly what they need, and I'll put together a package that'll solve their specific pain points, send them over a proposal, and that's very customized pricing. So it goes both ways. I know a lot of books, what they say is, if you read Sell an Agency, or I forget what the book's called, but basically you just want to have like a couple tiers, and it's a standardized process. So clients come in, pay the certain amount, and then they leave with that deliverable, and you just keep repeating it as a system. I know that's probably a lot of people say, but right now, as of me, I'm constantly evolving, constantly learning. This is how I'm kind of doing business right now.
See, folks, you heard that here first about marketing and freelancing and how to do payment structure. I know that that's a very taboo, that's a very like reserved kind of conversation. Like that topic isn't discussed on Instagram or social media enough. So content creators like are a little bit more cautious about how much they charge for paid partnership and sponsored content. But I think it's very important to kind of talk about it and be transparent for a lot of people who are stepping into this industry. So thanks for your time today. And
Of course, bro.
we definitely have to do this again because Alif is an ocean of knowledge when it comes to real. Here's to the first podcast episode, and thanks, Alif.
Of course, I appreciate you having me for the first episode. I feel honored.